Welcome to the NCSA Annual League meeting. My name is Christian Smith, Vice President of Softball Operations. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We're going to be going over a lot of important information, and I appreciate your attention. We'll try and get through things as quickly as possible, but we also want to make sure that all your questions are answered. I know we have questions being asked already, so that's great. If you're a new officer, we're going to be going over a lot of great information, so make sure to stay with us. We'll try and get through it as quickly as possible. You can download the meeting slides on the NCSA website, clubsoftball.org, and in the headline section you can download those slides. Follow along with us. How to ask a question, important part of the meeting tonight. Just type your name, team affiliation, and the question in the comments section below the video feed, and we will have Lacey, who's manning the comments section. There she is. She will try and read the question aloud, and I will try and give you an answer. If we can't give you an answer, if you stump me, we will certainly get an answer to that question regardless. So please don't let any questions go unanswered. If you think it's a stupid question, it's not. I've been around long enough to know that, there's no such thing as stupid question. If you're thinking it, somebody else is probably thinking it too. So please, please keep that comment section alive and well. So if you have a question, please name, team affiliation, and your question in that comment section. And again, thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. I'm getting word that we're having great numbers, so we really, really appreciate that. If you didn't know, the National Club Softball Association is located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. There's our address and all the pertinent information to get a hold of us. Phone number, that extension is my direct line, so if you need to contact me or call me, please do. A fax machine. I don't know if anybody even knows what a fax machine is anymore, but we do have one in the office. Should you need to fax anything, that's the fax number that you can utilize. The important part of that slide, or this slide we're looking at right now, is our social media handles. Obviously, if you're tuning into this meeting, you are on the Facebook group page or on the page itself, so thank you for tuning in and being a member of that group or page. But we also have Twitter and Instagram, and I know that the Instagram platform is something that teams, especially softball teams, like to utilize. So if you're not already following those platforms, those social media platforms, please try to do so, because we do put out quite a bit of information on those. This is the agenda for tonight's meeting. We're going to go through quickly what is Call Club Sports. You're a member of the the NCSA, but you might not know what Call Club Sports is, so we'll go through what that is. We're going to meet the NCSA staff, talking about our front office employees, but also our regional directors. We're going to briefly talk about the 22-23 year, just go over a brief year in review. And then we're going to get into the juicy stuff, 2023-24 season, what's to come. We're really, really excited about opening up Division II, so we'll be talking about that, talking about our new teams. And again, any new officers out there that are watching tonight that might be, I don't want to say clueless, but are learning the ropes on how to run a club softball team within the NCSA, we're going to be giving you some great information in the team operations section of this meeting. We'll get into a timetable overlooking, kind of give you a bird's eye view of the league, how the season's going to be broken down. We'll get into some sponsors and fundraising. And then the very important part of this meeting is the voting ballot procedures. So if any teams out there have any rule proposals that they would like to put on the table, we will be talking about that. But please, let's keep those rule proposals until the end of the meeting, when that section begins. And then just a couple league issues. I don't even like to call them league issues. I probably should have changed that to reminders. Just some reminders for teams to think about for the upcoming season. So this is our mission statement for Call Club Sports. Bottom line, it's kind of the Cliff Notes version of that is we're just thrilled to offer students an opportunity to play in a legitimate club league, and we're going to accomplish that by strong lines of communication. We want to be able to have rapport with all teams. We're talking with them through email, phone calls. We're getting a lot of information out to you, so it's important that we have updated contact information. But our goal is to provide a organized, legitimate softball league that you can be proud of participating in. So that's basically the overall mission of Call Club Sports. Now, what is Call Club Sports? Call Club Sports is a conglomeration of different collegiate club sports leagues. We have them all listed right there. We first started, even when I first started, it was just the National Club Baseball Association. That started in 2000. Our first year we had 34 teams, and we had grown all the way up to 306 teams. COVID hurt us a little bit, so we're building back that membership number, and I think we were at 286 this past year. So National Club Softball Association was our next league that we brought under the Call Club Sports umbrella. That started with 33 teams. This past year was our biggest year yet. We had grown to 152, so we're really proud of that. We have the National Club Softball Association Division II starting this year. We're expecting 30 to 40 teams in this inaugural year, so we're really excited about opening that up, and we'll definitely talk more about that later. And then we also have the National Club Football Association, as well as the National Club Basketball Association, where we offer men's and women's. So those leagues all fall under the Call Club Sports umbrella. So when you hear Call Club Sports, we're talking more about the parent company, which the National Club Softball Association falls under. Here's our front office. You see our president, CEO, Sandy Sanderson. If you've been down to been qualified for a World Series, Sandy has been down there the last few years. He's our fearless leader, started this thing all the way back in 2000 with the NCBA, but here we are with 6 different leagues and offering, the opportunity to play club sports at the collegiate level for thousands of student athletes. So we're really excited, and Sandy has a big hand in that. Myself, Vice President of Softball Operations. You see our Director of Team Development, Swing into Spring Operations, Lacey Lautner, who is again manning the comments section of the video feed. Our Sports Information Director, Antonio Sacca, who's been great. He is the one behind the camera putting on this live video feed, so we thank Antonio for kicking butt there, and he's posting a lot of stuff to social media. Our treasurer is Sandy Sanderson Sr., who's obviously Sandy's father, so if you're getting any invoices and things like that, that's coming from his accounting department that he oversees. Our accounting specialist, Jeannie Krichala, she is no longer with us. She's alive, but she is no longer with our organization. She just stepped down recently. Our Rawlings sponsor account manager, Mike Galletti, who will be talking about Rawlings. Ian Easton, which falls under the Rawlings umbrella, and then we have the game sponsor account manager, Felicia Battaglia. The game offers headwear as our official headwear sponsor, and then last but not least, our fundraising and travel sponsor account manager is Eric Curator. So those sponsors will be going over, and we'll hope that you have utilized or will utilize those in the future. Our NCSA staff, these are our regional directors. The North Atlantic region, I don't know if Lauren's tuning in tonight, but Lauren Wright is a former TCNJ club softball player. She is just excited to come on board as the North Atlantic regional director and working with the North Atlantic regional team, so we'll be announcing her officially soon. In the Mid-Atlantic, you have Mike Battaglia, who's a full-time employee here in the NCSA. We have the Mid-America regions run by Lacey Lautner, who I know you're very familiar with on the NCSA side of things. The Great Lakes region, South Atlantic, and Pacific region are all open, so if you have interest in running those, and I retract one of those, the Pacific region, we will be announcing Rashad Bakir as the new Pacific Regional Director, just like Lauren will be announcing him soon, but that was literally a day ago that he took on that position. So really excited about having him on. The New England region is run by Angie Petrie. She's actually in the club sports department at Syracuse University. And then last but not least, Great Americans run by Jamie Wilson, who's a former Cincinnati club softball player and is doing just fantastic things in the Great American region. So we thank all, especially the volunteer regional directors. And if you are out there and listening and think you would be a potential candidate, something that you want to do, we're usually looking for somebody that's graduated, no longer a part of a team. So if you know of anybody that might enjoy this, that isn't watching tonight, please have them reach out to me. Quick 10-minute phone call to go over what's you're responsible for. But we can't thank our volunteer regional directors enough across all of our leagues. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without them. So thank you to all of them. Again, maybe if you're just joining us, you can download the meeting slides at the club softball website in the headline section. If you go to the website, scroll down, there's the headlines, and you can download those slides and follow along with us. I would also encourage you to download them, print them, save them on your computer so that you can reference them later. How to ask a question, again, in the comments section below the video feed. Just write your name, team affiliation, and the question, and Lacey will notify me, ask the question, we'll try and get you an answer. So please, let's hear if you have any questions. Quickly, just want to go over 22-23 season, year in review. It's in the rear view mirror, so I'll just quickly go over some things. We had 15 new teams join the NCSA this past year, which brought our number up to 152, which is the highest it's ever been. So we're thrilled about those new team coming on board that help bump up that membership number. The only rule changes from this past year were the mercy rule, which previously was 10 after 5. We followed the NCAA and we moved it down to 8 after 5. And then we updated the eligibility rules where if a school has an inclusive higher education program and they have a student that fits into that program, is a part of that program, they might be eligible outside of our normal eligibility requirements. So those were the only two that were passed. The invitational tournaments, our fall invitational tournaments, I should say. Indy Invitational, Wisconsin won. First State Showdown, Sacred Heart Red. And then the Peach State Fall Classic was NC State. So shout out to those three teams. And we will be talking about the fall tournaments for this upcoming season as well. The regular season we ran from 9/15 to April 23rd. That was last day of the regular season, Sunday, April 23rd. And we had 8 regions of 25 total conferences. And then briefly, these regional playoffs were April 29th and 30th. They were at various sites across the country. Those 16 teams listed there, all participating members of the NCSA World Series, which was a fantastic one. We'll highlight that here in a second. But all these teams were just fantastic to work with throughout the year, and obviously they succeeded pretty well on and off the field. I do want to highlight our back-to-back national champions, the Virginia Tech Hokies. They won in Columbus, Georgia. The dates were May 18th through the 21st, and it was a fantastic championship game. Virginia Tech defeated Iowa 4-2 to earn those back-to-back national championships. Well deserved, and something that doesn't happen very often. The MVP was awarded to Iowa's Alyssa Martin, the shortstop. Just had a fantastic World Series. I believe she had at least a home run and a double in the championship game alone, and played very well defensively. So she was well deserving of that honor. And we played 54 games over 4 days. If you've never been down to Columbus, Georgia, hopefully you'll get that opportunity. But it's so much fun. There's so much buzz going on. There's games on all 8 fields, and just people walking around here and there, and just mingling, and it's just so much fun. So congratulations to Virginia Tech on a well-deserved back-to-back national championship. The All-Americans for this past year, 2023, I know we're still currently in 2023, but we look at it as the past year, and all previous All-American selections from all the way, back until 2000, I think 14, I want to say, is when we started awarding them. Can be found under the league tab of the NCSA website, so you can check those out there. And then our sportsmanship award winner was Michigan State's Claudia Ray. She won it in 2022. In the 2023, and we call it now the Savannah Aaron Sportsmanship Award. Nominations are in your inbox. So if you have somebody that you want to nominate for this award, this prestigious award, please send your testimonial, which is $500. I think we have a question. Lacey, hit me. I'm liking it. Let's go.
Yes, we do. We have a question from Alyssa from the University of Cincinnati, and she was asking what the rule change for eligibility was.
So you can find it in the NCSA rule book, but it is basically, there's schools offer, it's called an Inclusive Higher Education Program, an IHE. And within those programs, if you are a student that has been accepted to that program, your eligibility, I'll start with eligibility for most students is you have to have be full-time, 12 or more credits, have a 2.0 cumulative GPA, and not be on academic probation or warning. If students are involved or accepted into this IHE program at your school, their eligibility requirements may be different. It's basically if the school determines, hey, because of this program, they might not have a full class load, that 9 credits or 6 credits is what we consider as full-time in this IHE, they will be permitted to play. If they have a cumulative GPA of maybe under a 2.0, or maybe I think in a lot of these programs they don't really calculate a GPA. It's basically if you're doing well or you're not. The school basically tells us they meet the requirements in this IHE program, and that correlate to the eligibility requirements in your roll book. So those can be found. I don't know if I butchered that answer, but those all can be detailed in our rule book. You can find the rule book under their documents tab of our website. It's highlighted in yellow, so you can get probably a better response or answer by just checking those rules. Again, download the meeting slides on our website if you're just joining us. They're in the headline section, but again, download those, save those, print them off, follow along, keep them for future reference. And again, thank you for that last question. That's what we like to hear. Type your name, team affiliation, and the question in the comments section below the video, and we'll read it aloud like we just did 10 seconds ago. This is the good stuff, the good part of the meeting. 2023, 2024. Our fiscal year internally ends on June 30th, so we have our Happy New Year starts on July 1st. We are turning the page. So the 2023-2024 season, what's to come, the big announcement that hopefully everybody knows about, it's in bold there, is Division II. So we'll be getting into Division II and what that looks like. We'll be talking about new teams, and we're going to bring Lacey Lautner onto the set to talk about new teams because she is in charge of bringing new teams into the league. And she's also in charge of Spring Training Showcase, Swing into Spring in Panama City Beach. So she'll be talking about how great and beneficial that event is for teams. And then we'll talk about conference realignment for the upcoming season for both Division I and Division II, as well as scheduling. I know I've been getting some questions about schedule request forms. Have those been sent out? Those types of things. So we'll be talking about that. We'll get into, that should say 2023 fall tournaments. My mistake there. We'll talk quickly about the Rawlings Top 20 pool. Get into regionals and district playoffs. That'll be another important section because we'll be having Division II district playoffs and a Division II World Series. So we'll be talking a lot about that. We'll get into the World Series, similar to district playoffs and regional playoffs, how that's going to work on the Division II level, and then team operations for a successful season. That portion of the meeting is really, really important for teams, new officers that aren't really up to speed on, how to run their team within the NCSA. So we'll be going over a lot of great information there. So please just stick with us, stay patient with us, and you'll get some really, really beneficial information. And then lastly, we'll be going over that timetable. So, but I wish I had a drum. Division 2. Oh, we got a question. Let's go. Before we get into Division 2, let's get a question.
Yes, so Roxanne from Navy, she is the head coach. She is wondering, will the NCSA be doing any reinforcement stat uploads so there will be more teams represented in awards?
Well, I think it's less about, Roxanne, thank you for the question. I think it's less about teams uploading stats and more about teams just nominating. Literally, we had on some of the all-region teams, we had somebody made third team. There was no stats up for that team, but because they sent in a nomination form, we wanted to recognize them. So the problem is not necessarily the stats. It's people nominating, and that is mind-boggling to me because it literally takes 3 minutes to fill out that form and send it in to us. To answer the question about the stats, that has always been an issue. It's an issue across all of our leagues to get teams to enter stats. I see a lot during the course of the year. I get people sending me their stats for me to upload, and I tell them it's on the teams to upload your stats. So, I'm open, all ears. If you think of an idea of getting more teams to enter their stats, far down the road, we have been talking with, Point Streak, Game Changer, iScore, the software statistical programs that teams use, finding a way to, finding one to use, and if you enter the stats in there, it automatically populates onto our website. We've had conversations about that, so that can be an option. We're talking about opening possibly our own app where you can enter stats for games and it'll populate the website. So there's a lot of things we are working on internally, but we haven't figured out a perfect solution on how to get teams to actually put their stats up. Okay.
Second part to Roxanne's question is she said, I thought stats played a role in selecting these honors.
Yes, they absolutely do. So all the teams, how all region teams are picked is teams send in that all region nomination form. Just a list of names, who your first baseman is, catcher, outfield. We collect those, we put those into a spreadsheet, we go to our website, we copy and paste their stats into a website, we hide names, and we just solely look at stats. And we, it's subjective, but we have a committee that looks at, the Mid-Atlantic. And we determine, okay, this person's better than this person at first base. The problem is, again, going back, I think, specifically in the Mid-Atlantic, I know Navy, I know Virginia Tech, I know Virginia submitted a nomination form. I believe that's it. And Virginia didn't have stats up. So the first and second teams for all the Mid-Atlantic were basically between Virginia Tech and Navy because they were the only two teams that had stats online and submitted a nomination form. Virginia, we just gave them default third team on the all-region team just because they submitted a nomination form. So certainly these picks all are determined by stats. And the All-Americans, we sat here at our conference table that we're at now and had it on the big screen, and thankfully All-American selections were selected with stats, comparing stats. So yes, stats are factored in when picking these. Before I get into Division 2, Lacey, is there any other questions out there right at the moment? All right. Take a drink of water. Let's go. I love it.
We have a question from Eve from CMU. She is wondering, how do we know which division we were in?
Well, Eve, Central Michigan had a great year. You're going to be in Division 1, so you'll be in a conference made up of, Grand Valley State will be in your conference. I believe they were in your conference this past year. Yeah. So teams that have and we'll get into it here, but if you're a team that has succeeded at the, call it now the Division One level, you will be in Division Two, or excuse me, you will be in Division One, and we can talk more about it. Hopefully, these slides will answer some questions, but this will mark Division Two. Will 23-24 will mark our inaugural year of Division Two, and the reason it's this year is because of this magic number of 144, and this is across all of our leagues. When we hit membership numbers of 144 or above, that's our magic number. The reason 144 is a magic number is because our ultimate goal across all of our leagues, for the most part, well, I should say baseball mainly, is we want to have 8 regions, with each of those regions having 3 conferences, and each of those conferences having 6 teams. So that's 144 teams. And the reason that's just the sweet spot. Having 8 regions obviously means you can have 8 regional winners, and in softball we have, the regional runner-ups also move on to the World Series to get that 16. But 3 conferences in each region allows us for an at-large bid. So if you even finish second, you still have the opportunity to potentially make the regional playoff. And then 6 teams in each conference allows each team 15 conference games, and that is usually the doable number season-wise. With fall and spring, as short as our seasons are, and it being club, 15 games is usually the max number of games that can be played in a season. So that's the reason 144 is our magic number. This past year we were at 152, so we were past that 144 mark, which means we're opening up Division Two. What's so great about Division Two is not only on the D1 level, but also on the D2 level. It's allowing these teams, and I don't want to say struggling teams, but it allows new teams, for one, the opportunity to come into the league, learn the ropes, learn how to run a club team within our organization, see how how conference play and district playoffs play out and the World Series plays out. It gives them that opportunity to learn the ropes. But it also gives teams that were members this past year that weren't competing, maybe have just been, getting mercy rolled every conference game, or, we're losing participation numbers and we're forfeiting a lot of games. It gives them the ability to move down to Division Two and compete immediately. They'll be on a level playing field with the teams in their conference. That's the hope. But we have seen this. This isn't an idea that we're hoping works out. We have seen it work on the NCBA club baseball. We have Division One, Division Two, Division Three, and it's worked fantastic, where teams are able to immediately compete. And it has the trickle-down effect that these teams that last year were losing every game, what happens? Girls start leaving. Why am I even playing? We're getting mercy rolled every game, slaughter rolled every game. I'm not showing up. We're going to get our butts kicked. Well, now you're at D2. You're playing against teams that, you're competing with. And what does that do? You have membership, the members buy in. You're excited to play. You're competing for a conference title, a district playoff. Maybe you win a national championship, and next year you can go to your club fair and really market that we won a national championship, and people's ears perk up and they want to join. So we have seen this. This isn't just us, blowing smoke. We have seen this happen on the club baseball side of things, and we're so thrilled to offer this to our softball teams. And it also strengthens the Division One side of things, because you're not, having teams forfeit to you every year. That team is now in Division Two, and it strengthens the Division One league as well. So really, really excited about it. There is going to always, I want to make sure everybody knows that, if you're in Division Two, you're not there forever. If you succeed at the Division Two level and want to move back up to the D1 level, you can let us know, hey, we want to do that. We want to get back up to D1, and we will look at your resume and we will determine, hey, we have room where you are. Let's move you up. Same thing on D1. If you're struggling, and aren't competing, hey, we want to try out Division Two, see if we can, start competing down there. What we don't want to happen, and what we will really vet on our end, is to make sure teams aren't just going down to Division Two to dominate. So we certainly don't want that to happen. Our expectations for this first year, and I wish I had more at this point in the year, more solid information on how districts, and that's what we're going to be calling them, how districts are going to be structured. I don't have that information. We're early in the stages. We hope in the first couple weeks of July we'll have a much better idea of how many districts we'll have, how many conferences are in each district, how many teams are in each conference. So we'll have much more information about that in the coming weeks. Right now, we're still too early in that phase, but our expectation is to have 30 to 40 teams in Division II. That's going to be comprised of all new teams that we bring on board, and if I take that back, new teams that we expect to have a district for. So new teams, majority of new teams that come on board will start at the D2 level, no matter how big the school is. I want to say that. I know a couple years ago we brought on the baseball side, probably longer than that, but Auburn came on board and they had to start at the Division II level. People are like, well, we're a school of 30,000 people. Well, prove it. If you got to prove yourself at the D2 level and move up. So that's how we're going to handle it on the NCSA side of things. So no matter the size of school, if you're a new team, you will start at the D2 level if we have a district in your area. We're going to be calling these districts rather than regions. In the top right of the screen, you see what the district logos will look like. That's an example of District 8, Central Conference. We expect to have, hopefully, District 1, District 2, District 3, and then the directional conferences underneath that for this first year. Conference winners and potentially conference runner-ups, again, depending on the structure, will move on to district playoffs, and then district playoff champions will move on to the national championship for sure. It's going to be similar to how Division I is run, just on a smaller scale. And we're, going to expect 30 to 40 teams this year. We're going to be expecting, maybe 50 teams in year 2 and, 60 in year 3. So we're going to keep expanding. So those districts will keep expanding, conferences will keep expanding, and the structure of the playoffs will be altered to factor in the growth numbers. We'll have a Division II rule book. We'll be talking more about that at the end of this meeting. I have proposals listed, but if we're looking, we have different Division II roles, Division I and Division II roles. Should D1 rules be more strict? D2 rules less strict? Auto promotion rules, D2 to D1, and then auto relegation rules, D1 to D2. We have those on the NCBA side of things. Maybe softball teams aren't interested in doing that. Performance bond amounts. Should Division I teams, if we're going to hold them to a higher standard, well, if you forfeit, should you lose more money? Should we make, Division I performance bond $300 and the D2 performance bond $150? And again, that wouldn't happen this year. I want to make sure that if that is something that is, potentially passed, that would not happen this year. That would be something we would put into the rule book for maybe 24-25 or 25-26, so that teams would be able to factor that into the budgets. Maybe we don't do that at all. No, I could care less. And then talking about Division I holding to a higher standard. Should they have stricter uniform requirements? Maybe no courtesy runners, etc. So things we'll talk about a little later. I talked about this already, but yeah, new teams, no matter the size of the school, will be put into Division II as long as we have a district for them to play with. And if there are any current teams out there watching that they're like, hey, Division II might be better for our program. Again, we don't want any teams that are just going down there so that they can win a Division II national championship. We want teams that if they feel like this could be a good fit for them, reach out to us. I know Lake Superior State, Fairfield showed interest. So if you are interested, just reach out to me and we can discuss it more, and hopefully have more information in the coming weeks on how the structure. But also keep in mind, we will be reaching out to some teams that we feel, hey, this might be a good opportunity for you. You should consider it. So again, a couple weeks, we're going to have more solid feel of where we are Division II wise. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'm going to turn the meeting over to Lacey Lautner. She's going to go over new teams for this upcoming year, as well as the spring training showcase.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Lacey Lautner. I'm the Mid-America Regional Director, as well as new team development, and I will be talking about the new teams that have committed / that are interested, as well as a little bit of the growth for the NCSA. So right now, as you can see on the screen, we do have 8 new teams listed. A couple of these teams will be going to D2. The team on the list that is not going to be going to D2 is Florida Atlantic. That is because, like Christian said before, if you are able to have a region or a district down there, that we will accommodate that for your team. Florida Atlantic is one of the teams that does not have enough teams down there to form a new district. Wisconsin D2 has made a second team as well, which is great. They're growing their program very well. We want to congratulate these teams as well for joining and being committed, as they were able to take advantage of our discount period that we run. We were running a couple of discounts, basically giving 100% off, or $100 off, $200, $300 off to all new teams that have joined. You can find all of these discounts on our Instagram page. Sadly, they are all completed at the moment. But yes, we are thrilled to have all 8 new teams join the NCSA for the 23-24 season. Now I would like to move on to interested teams in the NCSA. We have a big list of teams which we hope to join that would make great additions for the NCSA D2 region. The teams listed on the screen are either in the process of working with their club sports department to become an official student-run organization, or just to be an official team on campus. So yeah, we are very excited to have all of these teams join, possibly, as that would be great for us in every region and district in the NCSA. And the next slide is going to be about the NCSA growth. As you can see, we've been going up every single year, which is great. Minus the COVID year, we had to go down because a lot of schools were not allowing teams to play due to all different COVID rules, which is totally understandable. We were able to build up the 2020 to 21 season to from 26 teams to 142 teams, and as you can see, in 2022 to 2023, we were able to build the NCSA to 152 teams and hit that lucky number and be able to break it up into Division I and Division II. As Christian said before, we want to have 30 to 40 teams in the NCSA D2, so if we could do that, that would be great for everyone. And I would like to turn this back over to Christian, as he will be talking about the next topic we have. Oh, no, never mind. This is all me. This is Swing into Spring. There was a comment on the Facebook page that was from Lindsay from Stevenson, I believe. and I noticed that she was asking about are there specific dates and prices for next year. As of right now, we do not have any specific dates or prices listed right now. I will get into that on the next slide. I just wanted to let her know that I did see that comment. Yes, so as you can see on here, spending spring break as team bonding on and off the field, get out of the cold and play some ball. You know, a lot of the teams that do attend Swing Into Spring, such as Illinois, Iowa, Air Force, Florida State, these teams attended Swing Into Spring. Not only did they make it to their regional, some of them were champions, or they won or attended the World Series. This is a brand new facility. It is great. It is all turf. I've heard nothing but great things from the fields, the location of where it is. You can schedule as many games as you would like, as well as practices. This is the best thing for new teams that want to get out of the cold and, you know, get a head start on their season. You know, push the dust off, you know, a little bit. You guys can make your own schedule. So if you want to play one game and then have the rest as spring break, you are more than welcome to. But if you want to play 6 games and make it more softball oriented, that is okay too. And we will try to follow your request as best as possible. And then this is also, like I said before, great for team bonding. Whether you're a new player on the team or an existing player, you know, this is a great way to fully understand your team as you are down there with them in the condos, in the hotels, wherever you guys will be staying. You guys can go out to dinner and, you know, just learn how to work as a team on and off the field. And like I said, it is a great tournament and showcase, I guess you would call it, that we do run. And then here are some of our tentative costs. This was last year's pricing. This obviously could be changed a little bit depending on, you know, umpire costs and stuff like that. So we can go through the list a little bit. Registration, we do offer $100 off discount. It is typically $200, but you can get it for $100 if you take advantage of our discount. We do follow the NCSA rules. Teams will be contacted early August about attending. You guys can simply just send an email saying, hey, I would like some more questions, or I have a couple more questions and would like some answers on this. Or you can just simply say, hey, when can I sign up? This is the date we have spring break, something like that. The deadline is not 100%, but it is typically around the 1st or 2nd of December. And then, yes, we do offer a discount for signing up and registering your team, like I said. There's the $100 off discount as well. Yeah, if anyone is interested, anywhere from now until August, before emails get sent out, you guys can feel free to reach out to me, or you can reach out to Christian and he'll relay the message to me about any Swing Into Spring questions. And I am going to turn this over to Christian as he's going to talk about conference realignment for D1 and D2 teams.
Thank you, Lacey. Yes, some great information on Swing Into Spring, and I was manning the comment section. Love all the comments coming in, and we're almost inundated with comments. So we'll try and get replies to all your comments. So please be patient with us, but we love to see that. So please keep it up. Lacey's back there now. But to go off of the spring training or Swing Into Spring, if you've never been, please talk with Lacey, because it is an awesome event and it really provides dividends on and off the field. So definitely look into it if you are interested. So conference realignment, Division I and Division II. Again, I talked earlier about that magic number of 144 at the Division I level. That's our ultimate goal, is to have 8 regions made up with 3 conferences with 6 teams in each region. And that makes up that magic number of 144. I think the bigger goal for this year is less about hitting that 144 number and having those specific 8 regions, 3 conferences in each region, 6 teams. It's more about having 8 regions and 3 conferences. What that allows us to do is have an at-large bid for all regions. And that at-large bid is important because it gives all the teams that finish second place, they still have an opportunity to make the postseason. So that's really what we want to do, is have 8 regions with 3 conferences in each region. I think this past year, we had 4 regions made up of 4 conferences that we weren't able to offer an at-large bid to. So that's something that we want to get changed for 23-24. And obviously with Division II opening up for this upcoming season, we're going to be able to pare down Division I. So the North Atlantic, the New England region, even the Mid-America, and what's the other region that had 4 conferences? It's losing it. But paring those regions down so that we can have 3 conferences in those regions, so those teams in second place have an opportunity to make the regional tournament. Here's an example. New England and North Atlantic had 4 conferences last year, moving some D2 teams down, or D1 teams down to D2, and consolidating conferences from 4 to 3 will allow at-large bids to those regionals. Talked about it earlier. Division II, as far as conference realignment, we are still to be determined. I wish I had more concrete information on, we're having 4 districts, District 1, 2, 3, 4, mainly on the East Coast. We don't have that information yet. So bear with us. We hope in the coming weeks we will have a lot more information about that. But what we're expecting is to have 4 districts with 2 conferences in each district, and having 5 to 6 teams in each of those conferences. First and second place teams in each of those conferences would move on to the district playoffs, which we hope that we're going to have a 4-team double elimination tournament district playoff, which is like we do on the D1 side of things. And for sure, the district playoff winners will move on to the national championship. Conference scheduling. This has been a topic that I've gotten some emails about. Has the schedule request form come out yet? We're starting to schedule some non-conference games. How do I, let you know about that? How do I know to let you know to not schedule us on those dates that we have non-conference games scheduled? So we'll be talking about that. The schedule request form. We'll show example here in a second. That will be sent out here probably mid-July, and it's a form, and it's an Excel file that goes through every single week of the NCSA season. You have your academic calendar open when filling that out, and you list during each week, we can play home this weekend. We have our field available. Maybe next weekend is you're a big football school. I'm talking in the fall, and you can't play because you're going to the football game. You would list off that weekend. Maybe you can play a certain weekend, but you don't have a field available. You would request away that weekend. Obviously, what's big about having the academic calendar open, and when fall breaks are, spring breaks are, when campus festivals are, exams are, in those weeks you would want to request off on that schedule request form. So it's extremely important to be accurate, because we use that form to build the conference schedule. And we hope that you can be as flexible as possible, because when we're compiling it, it's a puzzle, and we're looking at your requests, and we're looking at 5 other teams' requests, and trying to put a puzzle together. I have this in bold, but just experiencing it this past year, even the teams in the South, we encourage a heavy fall schedule. So when I say heavy, if it's a 6-team conference, that means you have 15 conference games, 5 individual series. Honestly, having 4 conference series scheduled in the fall and only 1 in the spring is ideal. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it is ideal, knowing that one of those fall conference schedules probably going to need to be rescheduled and pushed to the spring. And I know even 2 weekends or 2 series in the spring sounds like, well, that's nothing. But keep in mind the spring is extremely short with Easter holiday, spring breaks, and you also got to remember we have to match you up with another team and their availability. So it gets a lot more complicated. So I really strongly encourage you to be open to the idea of having a heavy fall schedule. It opens up the spring so much more. It helps us get all your conference games in. It allows us flexibility with rescheduling games. So please be open to that. I know that many teams are, especially in the Northeast, but even teams in the South. I think teams other than, in the state of Florida and Southern California should be open to that idea. We'll hope to have our conference schedules released by April 15th, which is 1 month before the official start of the fall NCSA season, which is September 15th. And once we release these conference schedules, that's when it's like, okay, we're off this weekend. Let's fill those open dates up with our non-conference games. Once you do schedule those games, those non-conference games, please let us know so that we can put them on the website and you can get credit for those games. There's an example of what it does look like, but you can see that it goes through the entire season. So we have 36 weeks, and that's just an example of maybe what a team would put down there. We have some notes at the bottom, some fall tournaments to consider, potential conflicts to consider as well. But again, just try and be as accurate as possible when filling that out. And the academic eligibility calendar is essential, having that open when you are filling that out. Here is our fall tournaments we're excited to have back up and running for this upcoming season. Again, these fall tournaments that we set up, it's all inclusive. You pay one price, and that takes care of the game costs, the field costs, umpires, game balls. Obviously, you'd be in charge of your travel expenses, but all these games, you're getting at least 3 pool play games, and potentially, if it's a double elimination format after that, you're getting at least 5 games played, added to your conference schedule, added to your overall schedule. So the Indy Invitational in Elkhart, Indiana, we've been running that for several years. This year it's October 7th and 8th, again at Riverview Softball Complex, where we had the Great American and Great Lakes Regional. And again, that's a 4-game guarantee. We're hoping to have 12 to 16 teams there. We have a tournament. Is that a question, Lacey? Yeah. Go ahead.
Roxanne from Navy, she was asking, how do we go about hosting a tournament?
You're more than welcome to host a tournament. If you want to get that set up, I don't know if you're looking for us to kind of work together on a partnership, or if you're just wanting to run it as the U.S. Naval Academy Fall Invitational, you can certainly do that. We'll help facilitate that. Help you with contact information and maybe getting some information out to on our social media channels. But if it's something that you're interested in doing, I don't know exactly how you're looking to do it, but please reach out to us, and however you're looking at hosting that tournament, we'll help facilitate in any way. The NCSA Fall Tournament yet to be determined. We're moving one to Lancaster, PA. That's going to be October 14th and 15th. Lancaster is a fantastic location that we can pull a lot of teams from, Philadelphia and New Jersey and South, down into Maryland and West Virginia, Pennsylvania. It's just got a great location. So that is going to be opening up. It's at Strasburg J.C. Park, which I got to tour this past, just a couple weeks ago. That's going to be October 14th and 15th, and we're hoping with that 12 to 16 teams as well. And we'll hopefully have a better name than NCSA Fall Tournament for you. Peach State Fall Classic, fantastic event. I got to run this one this past year down at South Common Sports Softball Complex. It was the site of the NCSA World Series. Hoping to have 8 to 12 teams. Again, a 4-game guarantee, but it's also a great opportunity to check out South Common Softball Complex where the NCSA World Series is. And then we're also looking to host a fall tournament out in the Pacific region. Depending on the interest from the teams, maybe it's in Northern California or even in Southern California, but those are talks we're having internally with Rashad, who's going to be the new regional director out there. So be on the lookout for that. We will have all of these registration forms coming out within probably the next week or two. I don't think there's anything holding us up getting those out. So please be checking your emails for those if you are looking to participate in any of these fall tournaments. Rawlings Top 20 Pool, we've been doing it for years. We got a new look to it, which we're excited about. But that is our Top 20 pool. Every year, we look for qualified, unbiased voters for that. And a lot of times I see people like, how's this work? Well, each voter gets a ballot, and they rank 1 through 20 how they think that, number 1 team is, and who's the number 2 team, who's the number 3 team. And, if you're a first-place team on that, you get 20 points. If you're a second-place team in that ballot, you get 19 points. And that accumulates points for your team, and we rank all those points and see who ends up on top. So that's kind of how it works. But again, we're always looking for people to be on that ballot, voting ballot. So if you feel like you're unbiased, you're objective when looking at, teams and their stats and their resume and ranking them, please reach out to me. We'd love to have you on the top 20 voting ballot. Here's an example of, the new look Rawlings Top 20. This is the March Top 20. Virginia Tech there, at the top. They finished at the top. But, yeah, that's our Rawlings Top 20. That in this past year we would do it once a month. We're gonna actually do it every 2 weeks, just to make it more, more on par with what we do on the baseball side of things. So we'll be doing it every 2 weeks instead of every month. Division I regionals, they are tentatively scheduled for April 27th and 28th, 2024. So please, look at your academic calendars. I know I've had a team or two have reached out to me saying, is this going to be, the dates for next year? And if so, that's our graduation. I know in years past the regionals took place earlier in April. This past 22-23 season assured me that having it a week later than in years past is better. We've had so many reschedules take place in that makeup weekend, which would have been the regional weekend, that we just need to have the regionals as late as possible, but also at the same time early enough for teams that do make the World Series enough time for them to plan, which gives them about over 2 weeks to make travel arrangements and things like that. So we feel that weekend is the sweet spot. So mark your calendars for April 27th, 28th for D1 regionals. And again, as always, it's a 4-team double elimination tournament. Conference champions automatically qualify for the event. And if we do have conferences of 3 teams, we will have an at-large bid. And the at-large bid is what basically we have 3 conference champions and we have 1 more spot to fill for that regional tournament. We look at all second-place teams, and we have a committee that looks at it, and we pick the team that we feel is the best team out of the 3 second-place finishers. A lot of times we hear the word wild card. It's not a wild card. A wild card is based off of statistics and your win percentage and things like that. It is not a wild card. It is a subjective selection of a second place team. And there's been times where we've had long conversations about one person likes this team and another person likes this team, and we get tiebreakers involved, and it's a tough spot to be in, but we like to have that for our teams, those teams that finish second in the conference. still have the opportunity to make the regional. Do we have a question, Lacey?
Roxanne from Navy was also saying that Pitt had graduation the morning of regionals. Could an idea of pushing regionals up one weekend be put up to a vote?
I mean, we can put it up to a vote, but I think our experience, I mean, if you're moving it earlier into the year, you're taking another weekend away for conference play. Easter, spring breaks. The spring is extremely short. I know Pitt had graduation. I know Cincinnati had graduation. I know Michigan had graduation that weekend. But if we're pushing it back a weekend, we are losing a weekend that we can play conference games. And the way the spring went this past year, we needed that weekend for makeup games. I mean, you look at, I think it's week 32 schedule. I mean, there's hundreds of games being played on that makeup weekend, the day before the regionals this past year, which would have been regionals in years past. So, to me, I just don't think it's feasible. I know I rattled off 3 teams, but I know other programs, that weekend was fine for them. If we move it back a weekend, I know we're probably not getting into graduation, but teams are going to be. We have finals, and we're not going to make every team happy. But as a league, knowing that we've been doing this a long time, we want to give teams every opportunity to finish their conference season, and giving them the opportunity, that extra week to play, allows for that. So, another question. Go ahead, Lace.
This kind of stems onto Roxanne. So, Marin from Grand Valley said, when will we know for sure about the regional dates? Grand Valley has graduation that weekend and will have a heavy senior team this year.
I will mark down. We can get feedback from the teams. Certainly I get it. And I do not want to diminish graduation. I know that's why you are in college. And I know parents want to see you walk. And you might laugh at me and say I'm ridiculous, but we do have a lot of teams. I saw it on the baseball side of things, running regionals, where they have, they go to regionals, they're seniors, they miss their graduation, but they have a graduation ceremony for their seniors. But in my opinion, I think we need to keep it April 27th, 28th, but I certainly have no issues with opening it up to getting feedback. I'm not going to say it's a vote, but getting feedback to help make a better informed decision. I know in years past we've had regionals, regions have different regional dates on different weekends. It seems we got Roxanne and Grand Valley potentially interested in potentially moving those dates, so I will mark down. We'll add that as some feedback that we can add to the voting ballot. Bear with me while I write that down. All right, thank you. So I will. We will do that. We will get feedback from the teams. Also want to add a statistic. Do we have any music we can play, Antonio? There we go. All right. Thank you for that. Thank you for letting me write that down, because if I don't, I might forget it. But the good thing is we do have the comment section. We'll be able to go back and go through all that. So, Division II district playoffs. Again, tentatively scheduled April 27th, 28th, but it seems as though we will send get feedback from all the teams, which will include Division II teams, to see, maybe that's moved back. So those are just tentative dates that I think are best, but maybe I'm wrong. Again, not a lot of concrete information, but the district playoff structure will be dependent on the district formations. Our goal will be to have 4-team double elimination tournaments for all districts. So again, going way back to a previous slide, great if it ends up this way. This is what we would love to have, where we'd have 4 districts again, 2 conferences in each district, top 2 teams from each conference move on to the district playoffs. So it's a 4-team regional tournament. We will fund all the field costs, umpire costs. Teams will just be responsible for travel, gas, hotels. Conference champions and potentially the conference runner-ups will automatically qualify for the regionals, and obviously district playoff winners will move on to qualify for the NCSA Division II World Series. This playoff structure will be fluid until it is finalized for the 23-24 season. The big thing, what we want to do is in September, October, we're going to host a Division II only Zoom meeting where we're going to get feedback from the teams on how they would like the district playoffs and World Series to take place. Maybe we only have a district with 1 conference in it, and it's just the top 2 teams move on, and it's a best of 3. Maybe we have a district with 3 conferences, and it's the conference winners and an at-large bid. So we're going to be getting feedback on how teams would like to see the district playoff format. We're going to do that Zoom call in September, October, once we have a better understanding of what the districts look like. The 2024 Division I World Series. We are back in Columbus, Georgia, South Common Softball Complex. You get a view of the aerial view of the complex down there. This will be our 14th year in Columbus. Would have been 15 straight years in there had COVID not interrupted it. But we're really proud of that. There's going to be 16 teams again, 8 regional champions, 8 runners-up. Same format as previous years. And the dates are May 16th through the 19th. That's a Thursday through a Sunday. And we just signed, it was actually signed down at the fall tournament down in Columbus, a 3-year extension where we'll be in Columbus, Georgia through 2026, which we are thrilled about. If you've ever been down there, the complex is amazing. The hospitality is amazing. It's just a top-notch event, and I'm not, tooting our own horn. It mainly comes from the Columbus Sports Council. They're amazing. They're family down there to us, so they take care of us. They make everybody feel so welcome. So we're so excited. We'll be down there for another 3 years through 2026. So count on Columbus, Georgia being the host of the Division I World Series for the next 3 years. But the dates for this upcoming year, May 16th through the 19th, so you can mark that on your calendars. The D2 World Series, obviously we don't have a place to go yet. We will, but if you have any venue suggestions, if you know of a complex that is really nice that you think we should be looking into, please send that to us. Maybe it's not a World Series caliber site, but maybe it's a district playoff site. Maybe it's a fall tournament site. So please send us those suggestions if you have any. Obviously, Columbus, Georgia could be an option. We could host D2 World Series at the same time as Division I. We have plenty of space in the schedule. We don't even turn the lights on in Columbus, Georgia. So we can certainly play night games. We can move the D1 schedule to accommodate a Division II World Series, but maybe Columbus, Georgia isn't geographically centralized to the districts. So those are things we'll look into, but Columbus, Georgia certainly is a possibility. And it could be a great way to, the carrot out in front, enticing the Division II teams to want to get to the Division I World Series. So just for them to get the opportunity to go down there. It's an amazing experience. So that could be an option. Venue wish list. We're looking for a 4-field Clover complex, scoreboards, lights. And the initial goal. This is an initial goal for this first year, is to have a 4-team. That is obviously the bottom. We're not going to have a 2-team national championship, but 4 teams is where we certainly want to start. But again, you see at the bottom, we're going to host that Zoom meeting, and maybe we want 8 teams going to the World Series, Division II World Series. The winner and the runner-up of the district playoff. Maybe that's what teams want. So we'll be hosting that meeting to get all that feedback from the teams, which will be an important meeting for the Division II teams to take part in. We'll have more details about that as we get closer. And again, if we're running this kind of simultaneous to the D1 World Series, dates May 17th through the 19th, 2024. That'll be a Friday through a Sunday. And again, the dates for that World Series would kind of be dependent on the district playoff dates. So more information coming out about that later. All right, Lacey, do we have anything going on over there that needs attention? No. All right, good job. Take a sip of water. We're going to get into team operations. Now, I mentioned if there's any new teams out there, new officers out there, we have probably 15 slides, and I'll go through them as quickly as possible. If you have any questions about these things, please let me know. But this gives you a great idea on paperwork and how to run your club softball team. I hear it a lot where I get emails from new officers saying, hey, the previous officer didn't give me much information and I have no idea what I'm doing. This will hopefully help you out and give you a better idea of how to run the team. League participation agreement, don't need to go much over that. The vast majority of teams have already got those in. I would say, I think we have 96% of those LPAs turned in from teams, and any teams that haven't turned them in yet, they know. So that form is basically the contract that your team signs to be a participating member of the NCSA for the upcoming season. Every year they're due June 1st. And it's just a form, a one-page form that is very straightforward. It does not have a lot of legal verbiage in it. It's very straightforward. Your responsibilities, NCSA's responsibilities. If you agree to it, we need the team president's signature, and we need a faculty advisor to sign it as well. Send that in, and you are a participating member. Registration form, that's the other important document that we normally send out together with the LPA, but that just gives us updated officer contact information for the team. So we send out tons of information, so it's important that we have the updated contact information for the team. Schedule request form, we touched on that. We showed you that. It'll be due in July. I think we'll have that middle of July being due. But since we talked about it earlier, I'm not going to go much over that. But certainly the more flexible you are on that form, the better for us to help us make that conference schedule. We do, all teams, and a lot of teams don't know this, you're all covered under a general liability insurance. And a lot of this information might not make a lot of sense to you. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, quite frankly. But you're covered under it. And the biggest perk with this liability insurance, if you use a field off campus, like a high school field or a local park and rec field, they're going to say, well, do you have insurance? All you need to know is say, yes, we do have insurance, and then contact us, and we will tell you the information that we need. And it's a really simple process, and what we can do is we can add that field to our insurance policy to cover them as well. So there is a $75 fee for that service, but it's really turnkey. It helps you get the fields, and the fields to be covered. So it is not a medical insurance policy. We've heard that from time to time, like, hey, I dislocated my thumb and I had to go to the hospital. Can I use this policy for medical insurance? It is not that. It is just a liability insurance that mainly helps teams get fields off campus. So reserving fields, do not procrastinate. Have that first and foremost. As soon as the schedule comes out and hey, these are our dates for our home games, start contacting the fields. And if you're a new team and might not have an idea of where to get a field, reach out to us. Reach out to your school. They might be able to provide an on-campus intramural field or something. But usually most teams are using local high school fields or local parks and rec, which you can easily look up on the internet and get a contact and reach out to them. But don't procrastinate. Certainly don't wait a week before you play. And again, that third party, if it comes up, hey, we need to be covered under your insurance policy, just let them know, hey, yep, we can do that, and then reach out to us. Scheduling umpires, same thing as reserving fields. Talk to them early. Being in the sports industry, we know especially now that umpires are at a premium. Not a lot of umpires out there anymore. So you need to make sure that you're getting in touch with them early so that they can get your game scheduled. You need to have at least 2 high school certified umpires. And again, don't wait till a week before you play. And if you're a new team or an officer that doesn't know how to get in touch with an umpire contact, reach out to us. But the easiest thing is, 1, reach out to the local high school, reach out to their AD, or even their softball coach and say, who do you use for your umpires? And they can usually provide you with a name. Just doing a simple Google search, umpires in whatever city your campus is in, there usually is an umpire chapter with a contact that you can call or email. So just try and get that scheduled as soon as possible, your fields and your umpires, soon as the schedule comes out. As far as getting an active roster, this slide's very important, especially for new officers, new teams. And not that you need to remember this, because we will send this information out to you. It's not like you have to remember, oh shit, I need to reach out to Christian to get a team code. No, we will send this information out to you and tell you, hey, you need to request a team code. But at the beginning of every year, whoever you assign as your team manager, it's usually the president of the team, they'll reach out to us and request team manager access. We will grant them that access. We will give them instructions on how to utilize that team manager access. And the important thing that they need to obtain with that team manager access is the team code, because the team code is what you supply to your players so that they can register online. We'll be sending that information out. Usually send it out close to the schedule request form. But once you have the team code, you provide that to the players. The players can then go on. There's a login button in the upper right-hand corner of our NCSA website. There's 2 options: existing users and new players. If you're an existing user, you have an account on our system already. Just put in your email and your password. If you forget your password, there's a forgot password link, but then it'll ask you for the team code. You'll be able to go through the registration process, and you will be put into a registration queue. So that will be sent out again mid-July, usually close to when the schedule request forms are sent out. If you have any coaches that are not a player coach, that are going to be in the dugout on the field, they need to have a coach's waiver on file for us. Again, this is for non-playing coaches, managers, trainers, anybody that's going to be in the dugout or on the field of play, coaching the bases. They need to have a coach's waiver on file for us. If you've filled one out in the past, you don't need to fill one out every year unless any of the information has changed. But those can be found. They can be downloaded under the info tab under documents. You can download those. We just need to fill out quick pieces of information, sign it, and send those over to us. The academic eligibility letter. So when your players register online, a lot of times what they think is, hey, I'm on the roster. That's not the case. There's 2 parts to a roster. teams registering, and when they register, they'll get a, hey, you've successfully registered. You are placed into what is called a registration queue. And one of the things the team manager access allows the team manager to see is who has in fact registered, so that you can get on, Lauren, hey, you need to register online. You're not in the registration queue. So you are able to see who all the players that have registered successfully. Now, in order for those players to be added to the active roster, the league needs an academic eligibility letter. And we have a sample version on the documents page, which is a very underutilized section of our website. But there is a sample that you can click on, download. It's a Word document that you can update it specific to your team. And then once it's updated, you can take it to your registrar, or if your club sports director has access to view academic records, you can take it to them as well. But on this academic letter, it lists all the academic requirements: 12 credits, 2.0 cumulative GPA, not on academic probation or warning. It's all listed at the top of that. You list your players' names under it. You take it to the registrar. They go through each player and say, okay, yep, this person's full time. They have a 2.0. They're not academic probation warning. They're good. They sign off on it. You send it to us. Once we have that form signed, we go into your registration queue and we push everybody that's academically eligible and registered onto your active roster. And we will let you know, hey, here is your roster is finalized. You're all set. If there's any issues, maybe somebody's on the academic letter that isn't registered, we'll let you know that. So not necessarily need to remember this information, but put it in your back pocket, put it in the back of your brain, because we will be referencing these soon. Uploading player stats and team information. It's a hot topic on the comments section, but all teams have the opportunity or have the access, I should say, to upload their stats to the website. I know Tina from Montclair State said she was having issues. Sometimes it was glitchy when entering stats. And if that's the case, please let us know that immediately, and we can reach out to our web developer to do that. But yes, all team managers have the access to enter stats for all their games. And obviously, the best thing to do is after each of your games, go in and enter the stats, because you don't want to wait till the end of the year and have to go back and do all the stats. We are on the honor system. We are requesting that all teams put in accurate stats. If teams have questions about stats, let us know. But yes, teams need to get more stats up. And those stats, when you enter them, there's a stat tracker on our website. So, you see, the league leaders, conference leaders in home runs, hits, stolen bases. It's cool to see those things. And it's cool for mom and dad, grandma and grandpa to see those things. So entering stats, is a good thing. Please do it. And it's very simple. And it's in our instructions on how to do. So, please, it's something that we need to work on. And it's not an issue just in softball. It's an issue in baseball on all divisions. It's an issue in basketball for certain. And if somebody has an idea of how do we get more teams to upload stats, please let us know. I touched on, years down the road, maybe finding a way to have a stat platform automatically push stats to our website. But all team managers have access. And you can have multiple team managers for your team. So if you want to designate somebody to just do stats for your team, we can give them team manager access as well. So that can be their sole responsibility, is getting stats in. You can also, I don't know if anybody knows this, but you basically have your own website within our website. You can enter your own Facebook links, your social media handles, team. You can put pictures up there. You can put the official color of the your team on the website. So you can actually pick your own players of the week. So it's something that not a lot of teams utilize, and that's probably because we don't market it enough. But every team basically has their own website within our website. So all that team information can be uploaded as well. And we have an instruction sheet that we will send out that you can have that goes through how to do all that, how to change the color, how to put your social media handles up, things like that. So something to certainly do for this upcoming year, because it's a great way to market your team. The weekly team submission form, your regional director, once the season gets underway, you play during the weekend. On Monday, your regional director will send you a form called the weekly team submission form. That form allows you to enter scores for the games, and it also allows you to nominate players and pitchers of the week. So if you had somebody, I think it allows you to nominate 2 players, 2 pitchers. So if you had 2 standout players offensively, it allows you to put their name and their stat line in. And what we do is we look at, as regional directors, we look at each conference and we select a player and a pitcher of the week for each conference. And then, big picture, we look at all those conferences winners of pitcher and player of the week, and we select a national player and pitcher of the week each week. So that form allows you to do that. Big thing is it allows you to give us the scores so we can input those into the website so that your record is updated. And again, those will be sent to you on Monday. We need those turned in to us by Monday night. It takes a few minutes to fill out. And then on Tuesday, we select our conference players, pitchers of the week. Then Wednesday, we pick the national. NCSA dues. This is for both D1 and D2. You're getting 2 dozen NCSA official Rawlings game balls. You're going to be covered under that general liability policy. Each team is required to pay a $150 performance bond if you did not if you forfeited conference games this past year. If you did not, we just take that $150 and we roll it over to next year. So the vast majority of teams do not owe that performance bond. If you not sure if you owe it or not, reach out to me. I can tell you in 2 seconds if you owe it or not. You will be invoiced in September, early September for that if you do owe, so it's not like you need to remember, but 1375 is the dues number again for this year. That's due February 28th, but take advantage of that $100 discount, making it $1275 you pay by the end of December. It's an easy way to save $100. We do send invoices where you can pay by credit card. They are subject to an online handling fee, but you can certainly send a check and avoid that fee as long as we have it by the December 31st deadline. You can still earn that $100 discount. And we'll get those invoices out for dues in early October. These are just some ideas. I know all teams are different, and all teams already have things that they do in order to boost team interest. And I would encourage you, as I'm going through these slides, if you have ideas, there's people watching that are maybe running a club team for the first time or a new club team. Put your ideas on what you do on campus to boost team morale, get more interest, because that's a plague that or that's something that plagues a lot of teams is getting the membership numbers. So boosting team interest, obviously the big thing is getting to those usually at the beginning of each semester, a student fair, a club fair where you have a table and incoming freshmen can see the different clubs on campus. Obviously getting a table there is big. School newspaper. I don't know if they still do paper newspapers on campus, but I'm sure they do it online. Getting an advertisement in that. Having just flyers in the club sports department. Freshman dorms where there's a tab you can pull at the bottom with the president's information to reach out. Social media is obviously huge. At the end of the day, you just want to get your presence out on campus. And I don't know if there's teams out there watching, please let us know what you do to boost team interest on campus, because it might help a team out. As far as team morale, getting together on the field, off the field as much as possible. Social events obviously build strong bonds. Those bonds obviously lead to strong success on the field. Setting room assignments to break up cliques. I know Sandy always talks about, spring training. Put freshmen with a senior. Don't put just buddies in rooms together. Break up those cliques so that you know your team as well as possible. So break up those cliques. Road trips are awesome to build team chemistry. If you're in a van or car for 4 hours, you really get to know people. And I know, even going on our road trips for tournaments, we have volunteer regional director or volunteers coming down with us, getting to know them, and it's a blast. So some different ideas. I'm not going to go through all those, but please let us know if you have any ideas that you can float out there. Budgeting. All teams need to budget, and we have sample budgets that we can provide you should you need it, but it's important to obviously set important budgets so that you know what you can afford. Starting off early, a new team or a team that might be developing, you need to start small and maybe not have the nicest uniforms, but as far as expenses go, you need to account for umpires, field costs, uniforms, equipment, travel expenses, league dues, and I know a lot of that can sound overwhelming and a lot of money, and it is, but at the same time, starting off early, figuring out, okay, here's how much we're in the hole expense-wise. This is how much we need to charge in player dues. This is how much we need to bring in from fundraisers. Donations from, maybe mom and dad, grandma, grandpa. What's the school going to give us? Those types of things. So budget for postseason every year. We hear it all the time. Team not expecting to do much during the season. They qualify for regionals, and it's like, oh, shoot, now we got to really start fundraising and figuring out how we're going to pay for getting out there. So budget for the postseason. Player dues is obviously a big part of that revenue stream for your budget. How much to charge, what is included, supply and demand. More people that you have, the higher the dues charge, and make them pay as soon as they make the team. Don't let them be flaky about it and say, yeah, I'll get you that. Set a deadline. This is when dues are, and we're holding you to it. So, even holding $5 for tryouts could be an option as well to bring in more money to the club. Team equipment and uniforms, we're going to be going over the sponsors that we have on board for all the teams, uniforms, hats, equipment. Always order early, especially if you're ordering customs. Nowadays things are taking a lot longer than they have in the past, so there's extended lead times, and a lot of times, you get a date, an estimated date, and it keeps getting pushed back. So, make sure you're ordering early, order extra. Uniforms get ripped, things like that. So having an extra pair of pants, extra jersey, in the equipment bag so that you can provide that to that player is important. Game balls, order those extra. They're not going to go bad. And the least you can do is get quotes. For uniforms, you have Mike Galletti in our office. Get a quote from him, and see what the price is. And if there's maybe a local mom and pop shop that provides a better price, so be it, and go with them. There's no hard feelings, but at least get a price quote, because you might be surprised the price that we're able to offer for our high quality uniforms. So we'll talk more about those when we get there to the sponsor section. The guide to collegiate club softball, Lacey gets that updated as often as she can, but it's really great for new teams, new officers. We developed it years ago. It's a Prezi document or Prezi presentation. But we talk about what is the NCSA, starting a team, and going through who you need to talk to in order to get the team started and off the ground, then eventually joining the NCSA. So it goes through basically start to finish how you operate a team in the NCSA. So even if you're a veteran, an officer that's been around for a long time, it might be good to take a look at it and brush up on the different chapter titles in there. This is our timetable. June 1st, league participation. We're obviously past that, so I've been in touch with all the teams that still owe those, and mainly if they owe it, it's because of the red tape with the school and legal and things like that. So, I've talked with most people that, most teams that have not gotten that in yet. June 27th, we're today, 17th annual NCSA league meeting. July 30th, we're going to have those schedule request forms due. We like to usually give teams about 2 weeks, so it'll probably be around July 14th or 15th that we'll get those sent out to teams, which is quickly coming. It's about 2 weeks. September 15th, the fall, that is when the season kicks off. All teams are eligible to play. I think this year September 15th falls on a Friday. So September 16th, all teams are eligible to play, but I say that, you're eligible to play, but if you want these games to count, you have to have an eligible roster in. So there's quite a bit of paperwork and things like that you need to take care of before just stepping on the field to play a NCSA sanctioned game. If owed, on September 15th, the $150 refundable performance bond is due. Our fall tournament, September 30th through October 1st, Peach State Fall Classic, followed by the Indy Invitational on October 7th, and then October 14th and 15th is the fall tournament yet to be named in Lancaster, PA. December 31st is the deadline to receive the annual league dues. Again, that's an easy way to save $100. So try and put that in your phone so that that date. March is the NCSA swing into spring in Panama City Beach. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to Lacey. February 28th is the drop dead deadline for the annual league dues. $13.75 is the amount that they would be due if you want to wait until February 28th. April 1st, roster freeze deadline. After that date, you cannot add any players to your roster. April 27th and 28th, tentative. Have it in my notes. We'll get feedback from you. April 27th and 28th, though, is regional playoffs, and then May 16th through the 19th, potentially certainly the D1 World Series, but potentially the D2 World Series as well. Another date, I'll go back here real quick, another date that I was, I believe, I forget the date off the top of my head, but there is a date, a week-long date. I want to say it's February 21st through the 28th. During that date, you can take 8 players off your roster. So if in the fall you have 25 players on your roster, and then come springtime, maybe 4 of them graduated and 4 of them quit, you can take them off your roster within that week-long February 21st through 28th. So that's something to consider as well, and that's in the NCSA rulebook. Sponsors and fundraising. Go through this quickly. Start with our fundraising opportunities. Fundraiser is our official fundraising sponsor. Eric Curator, his information, email and phone number listed below there if you're interested in talking with him about fundraiser. This is basically a online platform where people can donate to your cause, and it's you hear of similar ones. GoFundMe. Fundraiser takes less of a percentage than GoFundMe. That's why we partnered with them. But it's basically an online crowdfunding fundraising platform that you set up an account, you tell them your goal, and people can donate. You can share it on Facebook, all your social media handles, to get it out there as much as possible. So it's certainly something that teams should consider. And see right here, Cal Poly raised over $17,000 in less than 2 weeks. So not only can you raise a ton of money, you can do it in a quick amount of time. They raised it for the D1 World Series, which that year was in Greenwood, South Carolina. So all the way across the country. There it is on your screen right there. You know, I think that's the highest any team's ever raised, but I know we've had teams raise $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $8,000. So certainly something if you're interested, especially big for postseason teams to utilize. But and I know there's a lot of school of sanctioned fundraising things that you have to do, and maybe you're not allowed to use any outside fundraising opportunities. But if you are, this is a great one to think about using. If you can, in the comments section, what works for you. What do teams do? I don't. Car washes. I don't know if that's still a thing. If teams do that, but let us know what you do in the comments section. So maybe other teams can use it. Let's go, Lacey. What do we got?
Just to touch on the ideas of fundraising, I did ask that question a little bit ago. If anyone wants to view those ideas, they are in the comments section for fundraising ideas, just from other teams. Because, if it works for some schools, it might work for the others. So any option is a good option. So take a look in the comments for any of those ideas from a couple teams.
Awesome, Lacey. Great job. And thank you, teams, for sharing those, because, that might be very valuable to other teams. Travel sponsor account manager Eric Curator, you'll see his name quite a bit. Motel 6 is on board. They're official lodging partner of the NCSA. If you're traveling, there's Motel 6 locations all across the country. If you're interested in using them, you can get a 10% discount off their best available rate, which is already usually pretty inexpensive. We have a booking portal where you can book, where that 10% will automatically be taken off. There's the code there. But I will say that this information is listed on our website under the announcements section. All the sponsors, so that discount code is listed there. So if you don't get a chance to write it down or remember it, you can certainly find that on our website. Equipment sponsors. We have Mike Galletti. He is the Rawlings and Easton sponsor account manager. Why we have Rawlings and Easton on board. Rawlings owns Easton, so we basically are able to provide those two companies as sponsors. Rawlings is the official softball of the NCSA. You will get 24 complimentary softballs. That is a part of your league dues. Teams are required to use those softballs for league games, and in late July, early August, we're going to send out a equipment form that you can give us an address that we will get those softballs shipped to. If you want to order additional softballs, a lot of teams do that. You can reach out to Mike Galletti, and he can take care of you. Easton is the official uniform supplier of the NCSA. You see it's a big discount, 45% off orders paid through July through November, but also a 35% discount December through June. But take advantage of that extra 10% discount. Obviously, takes a ton of money off, and you're getting that order placed early, which means you shouldn't run into any shipping delays, things like that. They're completely customizable. I believe even if you have a jersey that isn't Easton that you want to kind of replicate, they can do that as well. The NCSA logo will come on the uniforms when ordered through us. Again, contact Mike Galletti. He is in our office. He's not a Rawlings employee. He is in our office, and that's his sole job is Rawlings Easton. So you can always, it's not like you have to go through all these different channels through Rawlings Easton to get in touch with somebody. Mike is your guy, and he can help you get that uniform order in. Here's some examples. Xavier, looks like Virginia options. And again, that all jerseys and pants will feature the NCSA logo free of charge. Rawlings and Easton are also the official protective equipment supplier of the NCSA. And again, those same discounts are for both brands. Ordering July through November, you're getting 45, and then December through June, it's 35. Items, the performance shirts, shorts, compression shirts, shorts, sweatshirts, polos, jackets, pants, all that stuff. So batting helmets, basically anything you need equipment, protective equipment wise, they have. And again, it's all through Mike. And contact him to do that. Here's some options: bats, gloves, helmets, chest protectors, that nice jacket. We also have TCA, sponsor account manager, again being Eric. TCA team provides NCSA players and fans the opportunity to receive 25% off 4 major brands: Oakley sunglasses, which I know are huge in the baseball, softball market; Lizard skin grips for bats, and batting gloves and stance socks. So take advantage, 25% off. I've looked for sunglasses on there, and it's they have quite a selection. So website is there, but again, this information is all found on our website. The game sponsor account manager is Felicia Battaglia. The Game, if you don't know, is our official headwear supplier of the NCSA. They have hats, they have the visors, they have the beanies, they have the boonies. And hats, I think, and visors are a great fundraising opportunity for teams. Order a lot, sell them to mom and dad, and bring in some money. I know pricing on these is very inexpensive, fully customizable, and they have so much to offer. You can find everything in a catalog online. I believe you can even design. They have a headwear designer. Those are some options. Felicia Battaglia, like Mike Galletti, she is in our office. She is a full-time Colt Club Sports employee. So you will talk directly to her. She has been doing our hats, for a very, very long time. So she is very knowledgeable on the game headwear. So any questions she can certainly answer for you. These prices are exclusive. There are discounts like all of our sponsors if you order early. So take advantage. I want to say, I don't want to misspeak, but I believe it's $2 off if you're ordering early. So reach out to Felicia and again, at least get a quote. Unlike our baseball teams, you're not mandated to wear the game, but they have the visors if you did want to place them. It's been a while since we asked this, but it looks like everybody's figured it out. If you do want to ask a question, maybe you're just joining us, just write your name, team affiliation into the comments section below the video, and we'll get that answered for you. But I am hearing Lacey typing like a nothing I've ever heard before, so loving it. All right, we're towards the end of the meeting, but this is the big portion of the meeting, and I want to preface this. Lacey, I'll ask you this: Are there comments still coming in?
Oh, yes. We had a couple comments and questions just about uniforms. I guess I could bring one up. I've already answered it.
Okay.
But Tess from Elon was asking if they had to wear Rawlings specific or if they can use another uniform brand.
Fantastic question.
Yep.
I should have talked about that. Yeah. Nope, you do not have to wear Rawlings. You can wear whatever uniform brand you like. We just offer Rawlings Easton to our teams, but you are by no means required to wear those. Now we are into our proposed roll voting ballot procedure, and the reason I wanted to ask Lacey is because in years past, it's kind of been a cluster where a lot of teams start proposing rules, and the way this all needs to work is we need to try, and I know it's not easy because you're all remote, but we need to try to address rules one at a time. And we're going to open the comment section to roll proposals. So if you have one, please enter it. But please try and be mindful. If there's other ones coming in, to maybe wait until we address those before commenting. In order, how this all works, you propose a roll, And in order for that rule to be added to the voting ballot, we need another team to say second that specific rule. And if some team, even just one team, seconds that rule, we will add it to a voting ballot. And that voting ballot will be sent to all teams, and all teams will have the opportunity to vote one way or the other on that proposed rule. So by just proposing a rule in the comment section is not, making it an official rule. By a team seconding a proposal, it is not making it an official rule. It's simply just getting it on the voting ballot. So again, let's try and do these one at a time. And before we start with team proposals, I have a few that I would like to propose. And once this is all done, once we're all buttoned up with the proposals, we will have a ballot, voting ballot emailed out to the teams, we hope in about 2 weeks. Depends on how many we have. And each team gets to submit one voting ballot. So there's a lot of times we'll send you a link to the voting ballot. It's through SurveyMonkey. A lot of times, the president and vice president will take that survey, and we have to, if they're the same, results were good, but in some cases, president votes one way and the vice president, so we have to kind of talk with both and see what they actually do want to vote on or vote. So one vote per team, so try and talk with your team about how you want to vote, and just submit one per team. And then we should have the results about a week after the voting ballot has been sent out, and then we'll have the rule book ready to go in late July. So I have these are just I have 3. First being amending NCSA Rule 4.08.0. Current rule during regular season, if 5 full innings have not been played and the game is called for weather or darkness, then the game is ruled void and must be made up at a later date. So when we say void, we mean the game has to be start from scratch at a different date. And I know with the weather issues we had, I know one specific example was Pitt playing Slippery Rock, and the last game of the series, I believe, was called, and it was called in the top of the 4th, and I believe Pitt was up 8-2 or something like that, and we had to move that game to another weekend where Pitt and Slippery Rock were also playing another opponent, so they'd play basically 4 games in a weekend. We had to, instead of picking that game up in the top of the 4th inning, since we didn't get through 5 full, we had to basically start that game over. So I'm just proposing, in situations like that, if we don't get to 5 full innings of play, which 5 full innings constitutes an official game, if we don't get through 5 full innings of play and it's called by the umpires because of weather or darkness, light failure, whatever the case may be, can we halt that game and pick that game up where it was left off at the time the game was called? So start there. I'll give it about 30 seconds. Do we have any teams seconding that? Okay. All right. Perfect. Again, that is just going on a voting ballot, and we will have teams vote on that. Okay. Now, this is in regards to Division 1 and Division 2, and this is adopting auto-promotion, auto-regulation rules similar to the NCBA. So the NCBA already has in their rule book auto-promotion rules and auto-relegation rules. So my question is, do we adopt those rules? And these auto-relegation rules, so going from D1 to D2, you automatically go from D1 to D2 if you finish at the bottom of your conference 2 years in a row, or if you forfeit 3+ games 2 years in a row, you automatically move down to D2 if there is a replacement, if there is a D2 team that can replace you. So obviously this rule wouldn't even come into play for at least 2 years. So that is on the club baseball side of things. Maybe teams are not interested in having those right now. Maybe it's a discussion we talk next year. Maybe we're too early into Division II. But is that something teams are interested in? Before, I don't know if there's any seconds, but we have D2 to D1 auto promotion rules where we've had, on the baseball side of things, teams are just succeeding at the D2 level. They're playing really well, but they just don't want to move up to D1. And they are a D1 caliber team, but they just don't want to move up to D1 for whatever reason. So we have these auto promotion rules in place so that if you have 2+ seasons of no forfeits, have 2 years of an eligible roster of at least 15 players, while also doing one of the following. So basically meeting those requirements, and then if you meet one of these requirements, you have to move up. So winning a national championship at the D2 level, or 2 consecutive World Series appearances, or back-to-back district playoff appearances with a World Series appearance in that span. I don't know if anybody has questions about that, but are there teams that second adding those to the voting ballot? And we can get more specific on the voting ballot so that you would understand it maybe better than on this PowerPoint. But is there any? Antonio, the producer extraordinaire, is giving me a second.
Yes, there's a lot of people that are seconding that.
All right, great. Okay, let me write that down. Okay. Thank you all. All right. And this is the last thing I have. So I know we talked about on the Division II level, we don't know the postseason structure yet. We don't know how district playoffs are going to pan out. We don't know exactly how the World Series pans out. I'll call it the D1 rule book now, which we're going to basically take the D1 rule book and then we're going to make it, the changes for the D2 rules. So in the D1 rule book, I'll call it that, the existing rule book, how about we call that? It has a postseason section where it says all regional playoffs are 4 teams. It has some specific criteria that might not be valid for Division II. So I just want D2 teams to realize that section of the rule book will be amended. And this isn't going to be anything that we need to second. I just wanted teams to be aware that after that Zoom meeting in September, October, when we know how district playoffs in the World Series are going to happen, we're going to put that into the rule book so that it is detailed there so that teams know, because it is already in the existing rule book. So nothing that we need to second there, but go ahead, Lacey. Was Lacey's mic turned on?
Is it on now? I think it's on now. I can say it again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Taylor from the University of Maryland has a question regarding Rule 4.08. What happens in the event that the game cannot be made up? This happened to Maryland versus JMU during the last regular season.
Yeah, I mean, what happened was the game couldn't be played. It went as unplayed because it could not be made up in the confines of the season. It was during the last day of the regular season. I know Maryland had games against George Washington or George Mason, but had that series taken place 2 weeks prior, we would find a date to make that up. But in that specific circumstance, there was no dates left to make that game up. And I know some teams will say, well, we could have played after the George Mason games, but we also have another team to consider as well in their travel arrangements and things like that. So there are situations where games go unplayed, and that was a situation where, unfortunately, and I know it hurt Maryland, but that game had to go as an unplayed game because it could not be made up in the confines of the NCSA schedule. All right, Lacey, is there any other chatter or anything?
No, the teams are really liking their seconding the auto promotion.
Okay.
A lot of teams are definitely giving that a lot of thumbs up.
Okay, good. And in regards to that as well, at any point in time, you don't have to auto qualify for auto promotion or auto relegation. If you want to just say, hey, we want to move up to D1, we're interested in doing that, or we're interested in moving down to D2, you can always send us that, and we'll again take a look at your resume, and maybe it is a good fit. And if we have somebody to move up to D1 and there's room at D2, we can make that happen. All right, so I want to open this up to, and again, I want to open this up to the teams. Maybe there aren't a lot of proposals to come in, but if there are, please try and let them come in one at a time, because what we want to do is Lacey's going to let us know. I'll announce it and see if we can get a second. If we can get a second, we will add it to the voting ballot. So I will leave it up to the teams right now to propose any rules that they would like to see. Yeah.
Okay, so we do have a couple rule proposals. I will start with the first one. It is from Navy. Teams have the option to forfeit third game of 3-game series if team is run rolled by first 2 games without penalty.
Okay, so if I'm understanding that, Navy run rolls the first 2 games. Navy's playing. It's called Virginia Tech. Run rolls Virginia Tech the first 2 games. Virginia Tech has the option to forfeit the third game if both teams agree to that without penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, that's how I took it too.
Can Roxanne, is that, I'm assuming, is that Roxanne?
Yes, that is Roxanne, and she might be typing. She sent the same thing again, so I'm going to wait for her response. Just 1 minute.
So what it sounds like is that if there's any teams out there, the first 2 games are a run roll or maybe even a slaughter roll.
She said correct.
So if first 2 games are a run roll, slaughter roll, and the third game, if both teams, I would think both teams need to agree, because umpires, I'm assuming, are going to want to get paid. There might be field costs and things like that. So both teams, I would assume, have to agree to that, but stating that the third game can be forfeited without penalty, which would be deduction of $50 to their performance bond. I'm assuming that's the genesis of that is to get the team. There's an anticipation of the third game being a run roll as well and getting the team on the road quickly. But my 2 cents, teams pay money to play softball, and even if it is a slaughter roll or a mercy roll, go out and play and try and not get mercy rolled. But is there anybody, before we get into the other ones, is there anybody that seconds that specific roll? So again, in a situation where a team is mercy rolled or slaughter rolled in the first 2 games, if both teams agree, the third game can be automatically forfeited with no penalty, which would be $50 performance bond deduction to the team that forfeits. Is there any seconds on that?
Yes, there are 2 seconds to that.
Okay. Just write that down. I know I have these in the comments section, but I like to have notes on it too. All right. Lacey, do we have, so that has been seconded, that will be added to the voting ballot. Lacey, is there another proposal out there?
Yes, I'm scrolling to the next one. The next rule proposal is something about footwork/interference at first base specifically. One of our players had a horrific collision this season because the umpire told us there were no rules when I pointed out that someone would get hurt.
Okay.
I did send the safety bag rule
Okay.
to her.
Okay.
And let me look at the thread. And there was no response to that. So I'm assuming that the safety bag may have been
Okay.
the answer to that. If she does comment back, I will let you know. But that was the next rule proposal.
Okay. Yeah, obviously we want everybody to be safe out there, and it's going to be the umpire's judgment if, a slide is intentional to hurt somebody, and that person obviously subject to being ejected from the game. If the field has the layout of the field is dangerous, and it's brought to the attention of the umpires, and I would certainly address that with them, and if there's issues, please call your regional director at that point. But not sure. We do have the safety bag rule in place, so I'm not sure that there's much we can add into the rule book as far as that goes. Is there another proposal, Lacey?
The next proposal is if a team wins the first two games out by the third by slaughter that they play, the third game is not needed to be played since the first two games have been won by slaughter. So I would say that's the same as Roxanne's.
Yep, sounds same to me, same as me, which that is going to be added to the rule book.
Okay. I am scrolling through right now. Okay, and the next one. Would it be possible to play the best of 3 series for a World Series championship game? Meaning regardless of the records coming into the championship game, both teams' records would reset to best of 3.
I like it. Just got finished watching the College World Series, College Baseball World Series. So is anybody second that? So basically this past year, Iowa came out of the losers bracket, Virginia Tech in the winners bracket. Iowa had to win 2 games in order to be the national champion. Virginia Tech just had to win 1. The only thing I would caution with that is when is that series going to be played? Is that adding an extra day to the World Series? Are we going into Monday? Are we going into Sunday night? Because I believe, Lacey, you might know better, but in order for Iowa to win the national championship, I think they would have to have played 5 games that day.
Yes. Yes.
Which is a lot. But once we get to that championship game, if we're resetting everything and just doing a best of 3, when does that take place? And again, we talking about D2 and the potentially happening at the same time. We have room in the schedule, so it's not to say that can't happen. So basically, once we have the championship, everything's reset. We start over, and it's a best of 3. Does anybody second that?
Yes, that rule was second.
Okay. Okay.
And those are all of the rule proposals as of right now.
Okay. And I thank you, all the ladies out there. I was expecting a little more chaos than that. Lacey, great job on overseeing that. But if something else comes in, it's not too late. Let me know, Lacey. Just throw the marker up there. But I'm going to move on to some things. We only have about 3 more slides left, I think. So if anything does come in, we will get back to it. These are some reminders. We need your alumni. We want volunteer regional directors. We want top 20 voting panel. We want people to volunteer at our events. I'll shout out Harley Miller and Madison Hunt. Harley's Northern Illinois club softball player. Madison Hunt is with Towson. They volunteered for our D1 our softball World Series this past year. I think they had a lot of fun. But it's even something that you can put on the resume. All expenses are paid for if you're a regional director and overseeing a regional tournament, or if you're coming to help us run the softball World Series. All expenses are paid for. Your hotel, your food, gas, all that's out of pocket is taken care of. We just want your help to help grow the sport. So if it's something that interests you, please let us know. Another big topic that I want to really stress to teams is games cannot end in a tie. Say that again. Games cannot end in a tie. By rule, and this is in our rule book, and there wasn't many instances this past year. I want to say there's about 4 or 5 where I received a weekly team submission and there was a tie score. And it was usually the third game of, in my recollection, it was all the third games of the series where, it was a light curfew, or they didn't have lights, or it was weather, and the game ended in a tie. They reported it as a tie. That can happen. It needs to be picked up at the next available opportunity, which will be set forth by the regional director. In instances where a game is tied and it's not called for weather and teams are just like, you just want to call this a tie, let's get out of here, that can happen. It needs to go into the international tiebreaker where you throw a person on second base, last batted out, and usually, in most cases, that ends it that next inning. So you might be playing one more inning. We had a couple instances of that at the World Series. So games cannot end in a tie. So if you're in a situation, it's the third game, and you're like, hey, we tied. It's the end of the seventh inning's over. One of the presidents of the team is like, hey, good game. It's like, well, no. We got to play the international tiebreaker and put somebody on second. If that team refuses, or the umpires say, nope, we're not doing that, just say we're playing the game under protest, and we can fill out a protest form and take care of that. Call your regional director. Call me. My cell phone's on the on all my emails. I know I had an instance with Clemson, situation where a team wanted to end in a tie, and Clemson called me and said, hey, I thought we had to do international tiebreaker. And I was like, yep. Let me call the president from the other team. Hey, you got to play internet. Okay, we didn't know that. They played the game, finished it. So just want to make sure everybody out there understands they can't end in a tie. Any questions about that, please let me know. Weekly team submission forms. We need teams to be more on top of that. Regional directors will be sending those out on Mondays for you to fill out, but we need your attention to get those turned back into us as quickly as possible. And nominate players for player pitcher of the week. Give them the recognition if they had a good weekend. All-American nomination forms. We need teams to send those in. They literally take 3 minutes. You are just listing 9 players that had good statistical year for you. And we're going to look at, I have on the voting ballot, maybe moving down the requirements, stat requirements for to be considered for all region. I think for offensive stats, it's 30 plate appearances that is the minimum. And for pitching, you have to have, I think, 25 innings pitched in 5 starts potentially. Maybe lowering those to allow more people the opportunity to be considered. So that'll be on the voting ballot to get feedback. But sending in a nomination should take 30 seconds, and we're just not getting the nomination forms from teams. I think South Atlantic was the region that did best as far as getting those forms in. Go ahead, Lacey. Is this a rule proposal?
No, this is a question from Macy. She's from JMU. This past year, they had to play regionals in one day on Saturday due to weather. Not necessarily a rule proposal, but could this be a new yearly thing to play the regional tournament in one day instead of two?
So she liked it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, the reason that it was in one day was, we had, in that specific situation, we had a artificial turf field. I think it was even raining that Saturday, but Sunday we didn't have that turf field available. But yeah, I mean, that's 6 games, potentially 7. I know Lacey's Mid-America Regional Tournament, they got through 5 games, which they had 2 fields, but they played 5 games in a day, and then on Sunday it was just the championship game, and it was just 1 game, I believe, Iowa winning. So, it's certainly feasible to do that, but we don't want teams to exhaust themselves. I know we had to do that in the South Atlantic, play the entire regional on Saturday because of weather, and I know teams, especially coming out of that losers bracket, I think that's potentially playing 5 games in a day in order to win the championship. That's a lot of games, but when we have regional dates, I think that would be more of a, let's ask the 4 teams instead of the entire league right now. Let's maybe ask the 4 teams, if that's something they're interested in when we get down to the line. My concern would be, just the teams that have to potentially play 5 games in one day, which could potentially cause injuries and things like that. But something to consider later down the road.
I do have another question too while we're here. Roxanne from Navy has a question saying, has the NCSA considered adopting a pitch clock rule for pitchers within 10 seconds of the pitcher to catcher, and batter being in position?
No, we haven't considered that. I think that logistically, umpires, I know fields aren't going to have the clocks. Most of our teams' fields that, are not going to have the visual clocks. I don't know umpire-wise how much responsibility they would add to them just being high school certified. I know, at the high school level, that's not a rule. I might be wrong there, but I'm assuming it's not a rule. So I don't know with most of our teams hiring high school certified umpires that they would have any idea on how to do that. And I think, we have enough issues currently with teams, ending in a tie and thinking that's okay. I think that may be a division rule potentially down the line that we can talk about, but it's certainly nothing we considered currently.
Those are all the questions for now.
Okay. To get back, if there's any more questions, or if there's a rule proposal, please let us know.
Oh, I just got a question actually.
Okay.
Cameron from Lock Haven. We had encountered a lot of forfeits and cancellations in our conference this year, and none of our players were at the 30 bat mark for All-American nomination forms. Would this number likely be lowered or changed due to this?
Yep, and we have that added to the voting ballot. Do we lower those numbers? And I know that, was it Cameron that asked that? Was that her name?
Yes,
Yeah,
Cameron from
I know
Lock Haven.
That was a tough conference, and I know you did have quite a few, I think St. Joe's and Temple were in that conference, and, there was quite a few forfeits, and that's why we're really excited about Division II, getting I don't want to single anybody out, but potentially moving those teams that have been struggling and forfeiting a lot of games down to the Division II level, so that doesn't happen, so that you are playing, 15 conference games and you are meeting those requirements. But I have that on the voting ballot for feedback. Do we lower those to maybe 20 plate appearances, and maybe it's only 4 starts and 20 innings for pitchers? So that's on there, so you will be able to voice your opinion on if we should lower those or not. I will move on. Social media, again, very important. If you are not following us or liking our social media handles, to do so. You see Twitter, the Facebook page, the Facebook group, Instagram. I know this is a big one. So please give us a follow on those social media handles. Another thing that I don't think a lot of people watch live is we do what's called Suite 301, and we go through all kinds of topics within Call Club Sports. So those are broadcast at 3:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook. You're watching it right now. I believe our next episode's July 18th. I got the thumbs up from the executive producer back there. But we post those times and dates on our social media. So please join us for that and get some great information and timely information. Lacey, before I get into the closing, is there anything else happening?
No, we're all up to date on everything.
All right. Well, close this bad boy up. Thank you. I don't know what our numbers are, but thank you all for tuning in, especially I think we're over about 2 hours and 20 minutes now. If you tuned in the whole time, I can't thank you enough. I really, really appreciate you being with us tonight. I hope you found the information informative. By you sticking with us, voicing your opinions, it's making our league better, and that's one thing that I love so much about our club leagues, is that we value your feedback. We want your input. So thank you for that. We really do appreciate it. It makes our league better. It makes our league stronger, and we can't thank you enough. Do your best to promote the league and the website as much as possible. I had a conversation with Rashad, who's going to be running the Pacific region, and he's such a great ambassador for our league and wanting to get word out. And we're working on getting a flyer together so that we can pass out to local high schools, because a lot of teams or high school students don't know that when they go to school that club is an option. So we as a league need to do a better job of it, but we hope that you can help us with that and be an ambassador for our league, and really talk about it as much as possible, market it, and one great way to promote it is to be organized on the field. Optically, we don't want to be beer league, we don't want to be intramural. We are a legitimate collegiate organization. So that's just the optics of games and things like that help promote our league. Our sponsors, we went over, try and give them as much business as possible. They're investing in our league, so that in turn they hope you will invest or use them with uniforms, hats, and things like that. But again, you're not required to. If there are issues, please notify us. We talked about ties. If one team's saying, "Hey, no, let's end this in a tie, let's get out of here," let us know. Call me on my cell phone. Text me on my cell phone. It's in my email. We want to try and resolve problems when they come up. Let no questions go unanswered. You have all of our emails, phone numbers. Please reach out to us if you have a question. Our emails, text, whatever the case may be, reach out to us. Keep the lines of communication open. We are sending out tons of information. We need to have that updated contact information. Please reach out to us if you have any questions, but let's have that rapport where we have those lines of communication open, because that's very important. We have a lot of deadlines. Please be attentive to those deadlines and meet those deadlines, and and we will tell you when those deadlines are. So please, there's a reason for those deadlines, so please try to meet those deadlines. And last but not least, and before I say this, is there any last minute questions, comments? Lacey. All right. Well, thank you all. Remember, it's a game. Have fun.